I don't just want a life that looks successful. I want one that feels safe. Dear future wife, there's something I've been thinking about deeply lately. It's not about status. It's not about achievements. It's not about impressing anyone. It's about safety. Not physical safety alone. Emotional safety. Spiritual safety. Relational safety. I'm building a life someone will feel safe walking into. Because I don't want you entering chaos and calling it love. I don't want you stepping into instability and hoping it settles. I don't want you feeling like you have to brace yourself in my presence. I want you feeling at home. There's a difference between being attracted to someone's ambition and feeling safe in their world. Ambition can be exciting, but safety is sustaining. I don't want to offer you excitement without security. I want to offer you steadiness. So I'm asking myself hard questions now. If you walked into my current life, would you feel peace? Would you feel welcomed? Would you feel protected emotionally? Would you feel prioritized? Would you feel prioritized? Would you feel secure? If the answer isn't consistently yes, then I still have building to do. Future wife, safety begins with character. Not charm, not income, not personality. Character, are my words reliable? Is my temper controlled? Are my reactions measured? Are my habits disciplined? Because safety disappears when unpredictability enters. If I am inconsistent with my integrity, you won't feel safe. If I am reactive with my emotions, you won't feel safe. If I'm careless with my tone, you won't feel safe. So I'm building consistency, building calmness, building discipline, not because you demand perfection, but because you deserve stability. I don't want you entering my life feeling like you have to earn security. I want security to be the foundation. I'm also building emotional maturity, learning to handle stress without projecting it, learning to communicate discomfort without escalating it, learning to listen without interrupting, learning to validate without minimizing. Because emotional safety doesn't happen accidentally. It's cultivated, and I'm cultivating it. I don't want to create an environment where you feel small, where you second-guess your words, where you hesitate to express your feelings, where you fear my reaction. That is not love, that is tension, and I refuse to build tension into our foundation. Future wife, I'm building financial responsibility too, not for luxury alone, but for security. I don't want finances to become a constant source of anxiety. I don't want irresponsibility to create pressure. I want structure, planning, stability, because practical peace supports emotional peace. I'm building discipline in my time, guarding distractions, prioritizing growth, organizing responsibilities. Because if I cannot manage my time alone, I will struggle to prioritize us together. I want you walking into a life that has rhythm, not chaos, clarity, not confusion, order, not instability. I'm also building a mindset of humility, humility to admit mistakes, humility to seek advice, humility to change direction when necessary. Humility creates safety. Pride creates distance. And I don't want distance living in our home. I'm building a life where conflict is handled respectfully, where disagreements don't turn into character attacks, where silence isn't weaponized, where forgiveness is quick. Because safety is tested most in conflict. If you can feel safe during disagreement, you will feel safe during everything else. I'm refining my tone. Tone shapes atmosphere. Atmosphere shapes home. I don't want our home feeling heavy. I want it feeling warm, warm with laughter, warm with encouragement, warm with calm conversation, warm with honesty. There's something else I'm building, reliability. If I say I'll do something, I do it. If I commit to something, I follow through. If I promise something, I keep it. Because broken promises chip away at safety. And safety erodes slowly when trust is inconsistent. I want you trusting my words, trusting my presence, trusting my leadership, trusting my loyalship. Future wife, I'm building emotional resilience. Life will not always be smooth. Unexpected stress will come. Pressure will show up. Seasons will shift. I don't want to crumble under pressure and make you carry both of us. I want to anchor us, not dominate. Anchor. Anchors don't panic when storms hit. They hold steady. I'm training steadiness now. There are days when I still feel stretched, days when I feel tired, days when I question timing, but I don't let those days control me. I process them. I regulate them. I grow through them. Because if I can't handle my own emotional weight now, I won't be able to carry shared weight later. Safety requires strength, but not harsh strength. Steady strength, gentle strength, consistent strength. I'm building spiritual grounding too, not in ritual alone, but in conviction. Conviction about values, conviction about integrity, conviction about timbagui, conviction about purpose. Because values anchor decisions, and anchored decisions create predictable character. Predictable character creates safety. I don't want you guessing what I stand for. I want you knowing. I don't want you questioning my loyalty. I want you confident in it. I don't want you wondering if I'll stay committed during tension. I want you assured. Future wife, I'm building attentiveness, noticing small shifts in tone, recognizing when you seem quiet, remembering what matters to you. Because safety grows when someone feels seen consistently, seen deeply, seen without judgment. I don't want to dismiss your emotions as dramatic. I don't want to minimize your concerns. I don't want to respond with sarcasm when softness is needed. I want awareness. And awareness requires intention. There are still areas I'm refining. Moments when impatience creeps in. Moments when I overthink. Moments when stress tempts me to withdraw. But I don't ignore those tendencies. I confront them because I refuse to let small patterns grow into large fractures. Future wife, when you walk into my life one day, I don't want you stepping into uncertainty. I want you stepping into clarity, clarity in commitment, clarity in values, clarity in priorities, clarity in direction. You won't meet chaos disguised as charisma. You'll meet calm grounded in character. You won't meet ambition without balance. You'll meet vision anchored in responsibility. You won't meet dominance. You'll meet leadership shaped by humility. I'm building a life someone will feel safe walking into. Not flashy, not dramatic. Safe. Safe to express yourself. Safe to disagree respectfully. Safe to grow. Safe to rest. Safe to be vulnerable. Safe to dream. Safe to build. And when you finally step into my world, I want you feeling something steady. Not pressure. Not unpredictability. Not instability. Steadiness. Because safety is not loud. It's quiet confidence. It's consistent behavior. It's reliable character. And that's what I'm building for you. Even before you know my name, I'm not just building success, I'm building stability. Dear future wife, when I say I'm building a life someone will feel safe walking into, I don't just mean emotionally. I mean structurally, practically, internally, spiritually. Because safety isn't just about how I speak, it's about how I live. It's about whether my life has foundations strong enough to hold two people, not just one. There's something I've realized in these seasons of growth. You shouldn't have to reorganize chaos when you enter someone's life. You shouldn't have to fix instability. You shouldn't have to clean up patterns that were never confronted. You shouldn't have to become someone's peace because they never built their own. So I'm building stability now. Not because I have to impress you, but because I want you stepping into something structured, intentional, and calm. Future wife, I'm building consistency in my routines, consistency in how I wake up, consistency in how I handle responsibilities, consistency in how I manage my commitments. Because inconsistency creates anxiety, and anxiety erodes safety. If I say something, I follow through. If I commit, I complete. If I promise, I honor it. Because broken patterns slowly break trust. And trust is the core of emotional safety. I'm not building for applause, I'm building for peace. There were seasons when my life felt reactive, responding to circumstances instead of leading them, letting urgency dictate my pace, letting stress dictate my tone. But reactive living creates reactive relationships. I don't want a relationship reacting to chaos. I want it grounded in rhythm. Rhythm creates predictability. Predictability creates security. Security creates emotional safety. So I'm refining my rhythm, guarding my time, protecting my energy, organizing my priorities. Because if I don't manage my life intentionally, it will manage me. And I refuse to bring unmanaged chaos into your world. Future wife, I'm building financial maturity too, not to impress you with numbers, but to protect you from instability. Financial recklessness creates pressure. Pressure creates tension. Tension erodes connection. I want structure, planning, wisdom, so that money becomes a tool, not a source of fear. I don't want you walking into my life worried about survival. I want you walking into vision anchored in preparation. I'm also building relational clarity, being clear about what I want, clear about what I value, clear about boundaries, clear about expectations. Because ambiguity creates insecurity, and insecurity makes people question where they stand. I don't want you questioning where you stand. I want you knowing you're prioritized, knowing you're respected, knowing you're chosen intentionally. There's something else I've been strengthening: emotional regulation. Because emotional instability makes people cautious. If someone never knows what mood they're walking into, they can't relax. And I want you relaxed. Relaxed in conversation. Relaxed in silence. Relaxed in vulnerability. That means I must be steady, not emotionless. Steady. Steady in tone. Steady in response. Steady in response. Steady in correction. Steady in affection. I'm building that steadiness through practice, through reflection, through self-discipline. Future wife, I'm also building intellectual humility, the ability to admit when I don't know something, the ability to ask for help, the ability to grow without shame, because stubbornness isolates. Humility invites partnership. I don't want to be the man who pretends to know everything. I want to be the man who values learning about you, learning from you, learning with you. Safety grows where humility lives. I'm building physical discipline too, not vanity, vitality, because health affects mood, mood affects tone, tone affects atmosphere, atmosphere affects home. I don't want neglect in one area bleeding into tension in another. Holistic discipline creates holistic stability. There are still days when I feel stretched, still moments when I feel impatient, still times when I feel the weight of expectations. But I don't let those moments control me. I slow down, reflect, regulate, adjust, because I don't want to spill unresolved tension into shared space later. Future wife, I'm building leadership without dominance, leadership that listens, leadership that considers, leadership that considers, leadership that protects without controlling, leadership that guides without silencing. I don't want you feeling overshadowed. I want you feeling supported, supported in your growth, supported in your calling, supported in your independence. True safety doesn't restrict. It empowers. I'm also building spiritual steadiness, grounding my decisions in values, not impulse, grounding my reactions in perspective, not pride, grounding my future in purpose, not pressure, because spiritual instability creates emotional instability. And I want clarity, clarity in direction, clarity in commitment, clarity in conviction. I'm building a life where love isn't chaotic, where communication isn't unpredictable, where affection isn't conditional, where commitment isn't fragile, where peace isn't rare. Safety is built slowly, brick by brick, habit by habit, choice by choice. I'm laying those bricks now. I don't want to invite you into a construction zone. I want to invite you into structure, structure that allows growth, structure that supports dreams, structure that protects rest, structure that fosters intimacy. Future wife, I'm becoming someone who doesn't panic under pressure, someone who doesn't escalate when emotions rise, someone who doesn't withdraw when things get difficult, because safety is tested in tension. And I want to pass that test. There's still refinement happening, still growth unfolding, still lessons shaping me. But the difference now is awareness, and awareness builds intention. Intention builds stability, stability builds safety. When you finally step into my life, I don't want you feeling like you have to brace yourself. I want you exhaling. I want you sensing steadiness, sensing reliability, sensing calm. You won't meet a man searching for identity. You'll meet a man rooted in it. You won't meet chaos disguised as ambition. You'll meet discipline grounded in vision. You won't meet unpredictability. You'll meet consistency. I'm not building a flashy life. I'm building a safe one, because safety is what allows love to flourish. And I want love to flourish with you. That's what I'm building for you. Long before you ever walk through the door, I'm building peace before I build promises. Dear future wife, there's something deeper I need to explain about this life I'm building. It's not just about stability. It's not just about discipline. It's not just about structure. It's about peace. Not the kind of peace that avoids conflict, the kind of peace that remains steady in it. Because if you walk into my life one day, I don't want you entering turbulence disguised as ambition. I don't want you navigating emotional unpredictability and calling it passion. I don't want you feeling like you have to analyze my moods before you speak. I want you stepping into calm. And calm is cultivated long before commitment. There were seasons in my life when I operated in quiet chaos, externally productive, internally restless. I was achieving, building, moving, but not always anchored. And I had to ask myself something difficult. If someone joined my life right now, would they feel peace or pressure? That question changed me, because pressure can look impressive from the outside. Driven, focused, ambitious, but pressure inside a relationship slowly turns into emotional weight. And I don't want you carrying weight that was never yours to carry. Future wife, I'm building internal order before external promises, because marriage magnifies internal reality. If I am restless now, I will be restless later. If I am reactive now, I will be reactive later. If I am unresolved now, I will be unpredictable later. So I'm resolving things now. I'm resolving old insecurities instead of pretending they're gone. I'm resolving emotional habits instead of excusing them as personality. I'm resolving pride instead of hiding it behind logic, because safety begins with self-awareness. I want you to feel safe expressing yourself fully, safe disagreeing respectfully, safe being emotional without being labeled dramatic, safe asking hard questions without triggering defensiveness. That kind of safety doesn't appear by accident. It's built through regulation, and I'm practicing regulation now. Pausing before responding, listening fully before replying, checking my tone before speaking, choosing clarity over sarcasm, choosing patience over irritation. Small decisions create atmosphere. Atmosphere creates safety. Future wife, I'm building boundaries too. Not walls, boundaries. Boundaries around distractions. Boundaries around distractions. Boundaries around unhealthy influences. Boundaries around patterns that could erode peace. Because if my attention is scattered, my presence will be inconsistent, and inconsistent presence creates insecurity. I don't want you wondering where my focus is. I want you confident in it. Confidence grows when behavior aligns with words. So I'm aligning them now. I'm also building emotional endurance, the ability to sit with discomfort without fleeing, the ability to stay engaged in difficult conversations, the ability to hold space for someone else's emotion without minimizing it. I don't want to fix you when you need to feel. I don't want to silence you when you need to speak. I don't want to shut down when things get complicated. I want to remain steady. Steadiness makes people feel safe. Not perfection, steadiness. There were times when stress changed my tone, when fatigue shortened my patience, when frustration tightened my responses. I noticed it, and instead of excusing it, I addressed it. Because you deserve a man whose stress doesn't become your burden. Stress will happen, but projection doesn't have to. I'm learning to process internally before reacting externally. To say I'm overwhelmed instead of snapping. To ask for a moment instead of withdrawing silently. To admit fatigue instead of masking it with distance. Safety is built when transparency replaces unpredictability. Future wife, I'm building reliability in small things. Arriving on time, finishing commitments, keeping promises. Because reliability in small things creates trust in large things. If I can't keep my word in ordinary situations, I won't be trusted in extraordinary ones. And trust is the foundation of emotional safety. I'm also refining how I approach leadership. Leadership without listening becomes control. Leadership without humility becomes ego. Leadership without empathy becomes cold. I don't want to control you. I want to walk with you. I don't want to silence your opinions. I want to consider them deeply. I don't want to dominate direction. I want to discern it together. Partnership feels safe. Control feels suffocating. And I refuse to build suffocation into love. There's another area I've been strengthening, forgiveness, quick forgiveness, because resentment creates distance faster than conflict. If I store frustration, instead of expressing it, I create tension. If I replay arguments instead of resolving them, I create coldness. So I'm practicing release now, releasing ego, releasing minor irritations, releasing unrealistic expectations, because grace builds warmth, and warmth builds safety. Future wife, I'm building a life where communication is normal, not rare, where check-ins happen regularly, where appreciation is expressed openly, where concerns are voiced respectfully, where apologies are immediate, where affection is intentional, where silence is peaceful, not tense, because silence can either be rest or avoidance. I want ours to be rest. I'm also building perspective. Perspective that understands seasons change, that understands growth is gradual, that understands not every disagreement is a crisis, because overreaction destabilizes connection. Perspective stabilizes it. There will be days when we're both tired, days when life feels heavy, days when we misunderstand each other. But if the foundation is stable, tension won't threaten security. It will refine it. I don't want you stepping into my life unsure of what mood you'll encounter. I want predictability. Predictability in kindness, predictability in tone, predictability in affection, predictability in affection, predictability in integrity, not boring predictability. Secure predictability. You won't have to analyze my silence. You won't have to brace for irritation. You won't have to question loyalty. You'll feel steady ground beneath your feet because I'm building that ground now. There are still days when growth feels slow. Still moments when I realize another area needs refinement. But I don't ignore those moments. I lean into them. Because becoming is continuous, and safety is sacred. Future wife, when you finally walk into my life, I want you feeling something subtle but powerful. Calm. Not fireworks, not chaos. Calm. The kind of calm that says, you can rest here. The kind of calm that says, you can speak freely here. The kind of calm that says, you don't have to guard your heart here. And that is what I'm building. Not perfection. Peace, not intensity. Stability, not pressure. Protection. I'm building peace before I build promises. Because promises without peace are fragile. Peace without promises is incomplete. But peace first, that's foundation. And foundation makes forever possible. That's the life I'm preparing for you. Long before you ever step into it, I'm building a future where your heart won't have to defend itself. Dear future wife, there's something even deeper beneath everything I've written so far. It's not just about discipline. It's not just about stability. It's not just about peace. It's about protection. Not control, not dominance, protection. Because when you walk into my life one day, I don't want your heart arriving guarded. I don't want you carrying defense mechanisms you feel forced to keep. I don't want you bracing yourself emotionally. I want you soft, comfortable, secure. And softness only survives in protected environments. So I'm building that environment now. There were times in my past when I didn't fully understand how tone could wound, how silence could create distance, how delayed apologies could harden trust. Those things seem small in the moment, but small cracks widen over time. And I refuse to build cracks into our foundation. Future wife, I'm learning that protection starts with emotional intelligence, understanding that your feelings aren't obstacles to solve, they're signals to understand. Understanding that disagreement doesn't equal disrespect. Understanding that vulnerability isn't weakness. I don't want to dismiss you when you're emotional. I don't want to minimize you when you're expressive. I don't want to retreat when things get complicated. I want to lean in. Protection looks like leaning in when it would be easier to step back. It looks like listening when I'd rather defend. It looks like choosing gentleness when frustration rises. Because gentleness is strength under control. And strength under control creates safety. I'm also building patience with process. Your process. My process. My process. Our process. Growth is rarely synchronized perfectly. There will be seasons when one of us is ahead emotionally. Seasons when one of us needs more reassurance. Seasons when one of us feels uncertain. I don't want to rush you. I don't want to pressure you. I don't want to expect you to heal instantly or adjust immediately. I want to move with you, not ahead of you, not dragging you, with you. Future wife, I'm building a life where correction doesn't feel like criticism, where feedback doesn't feel like attack, where honesty doesn't feel like hostility. Because the way truth is delivered determines whether it builds or breaks. I'm practicing slowing down before speaking, choosing clarity instead of sarcasm, choosing humility instead of superiority, choosing empathy instead of assumption. Small choices now prevent large fractures later. I'm building awareness around my stress patterns. Because stress reveals habits. If I get overwhelmed, do I withdraw? If I feel pressure, do I become short-tempered? If I feel misunderstood, do I shut down? I'm confronting those tendencies because I don't want stress turning into emotional distance. I want stress turning into teamwork. Instead of isolating, I want to communicate. Instead of projecting, I want to process. Instead of escalating, I want to regulate. Protection means I handle my internal storms before they become your external burden. Future wife, I'm also building trustworthiness in silence, not just loyalty in action. Trustworthiness in thought, in boundaries, in unseen moments. Because loyalty isn't reactive, it's proactive. I don't want you wondering about my integrity. I want you resting in it. Integrity builds invisible security, and invisible security allows visible peace. I'm building a mindset that values partnership over pride. Because pride isolates, it makes you compete instead of collaborate. It makes you defend instead of understand. I don't want to compete with you. I want to build with you. Build shared goals, build shared dreams, build shared resilience, build shared resilience, build shared joy. That requires humility, and humility is something I'm cultivating daily. I'm also refining how I respond to disappointment. Not everything in life will go according to plan. Dreams may take longer. Obstacles will appear. There will be days when frustration tries to settle in. I don't want disappointment to turn into emotional coldness. I don't want setbacks to turn into silence. I want resilience. Resilience that protects connection. Resilience that keeps tone calm. Resilience that says, we'll handle this together. Protection is not loud. It's steady, it's consistent, it's present. There's another layer of protection I'm building. Respect. Respect in how I speak about you to others. Respect in how I represent you when you're not there. Respect in how I handle private matters. Because disrespect doesn't always start publicly. It often begins in private attitudes. And private attitudes shape public behavior. I'm guarding my private mindset now, so that public loyalty never wavers. Future wife, I'm building emotional generosity. The willingness to assume good intent. The willingness to extend grace. The willingness to give reassurance without irritation. The willingness to validate even when I don't fully understand. Because validation doesn't require agreement. It requires empathy. Empathy builds bridges, and bridges create safety. There are still areas where I'm refining, moments when impatience surfaces, moments when ego whispers, moments when I feel tempted to withdraw, but I don't ignore them, I correct them. Because uncorrected habits become future harm, and I refuse to let small habits become large ones. When you walk into my life, I don't want you entering a battlefield of unresolved issues. I want you entering a space of preparation, a space where maturity has been practiced, a space where peace has been cultivated, a space where leadership is balanced with humility, a space where vulnerability is welcomed, not weaponized. You won't have to armor up. You won't have to analyze every word. You won't have to filter your personality. You'll feel protected, not controlled. Protected. Protected by consistency. Protected by clarity. Protected by intentional love. Protected by disciplined character. I'm building a future where your heart won't have to defend itself, where softness is safe, where honesty is welcomed, where growth is supported, where affection is steady, where commitment is unshaken, and when you finally step into my world, I want you feeling something deep and undeniable. Security, not excitement alone, not intensity alone. Security, the kind that allows love to grow naturally, the kind that allows vulnerability to flourish, the kind that allows forever to feel possible. That's what I'm building for you, long before you ever arrive. I'm building something that won't collapse when life gets heavy. Dear future wife, there's one more layer beneath everything I've been writing. It's not just about safety and calm seasons. It's about safety and pressure. Because it's easy to be steady when life is smooth. It's easy to be gentle when stress is low. It's easy to communicate well when nothing feels urgent. But real safety is revealed when life gets heavy. And I don't want you discovering my weaknesses for the first time in the middle of a storm. I want you knowing that I trained for the storm long before it arrived. Future wife, I'm building emotional endurance, the kind that doesn't crumble when plans change, the kind that doesn't lash out when disappointed, the kind that doesn't shut down when overwhelmed, because pressure will come, unexpected bills, career setbacks, family tension, health scares, exhaustion, misunderstandings. Life will test us. And when it does, I don't want you carrying both of our emotional weight. I want to anchor us, not by controlling everything, but by staying calm when things feel unstable. Anchors don't remove storms. They keep the ship from drifting. That's the kind of man I'm becoming. I'm training my reactions. When I'm tired, I'm practicing kindness anyway. When I'm frustrated, I'm practicing patience anyway. When I'm overwhelmed, I'm practicing communication anyway. Because if I can regulate myself under small stress now, I'll be steadier under larger stress later. Safety is not the absence of difficulty. It's the presence of stability during it. There's something else I'm building. Resilience in conflict. Not avoidance, not aggression. Resilience. The ability to stay in the conversation. The ability to stay in the conversation. The ability to hear hard truths without shutting down. The ability to express disagreement without disrespect. The ability to apologize quickly. The ability to forgive fully. I don't want you fearing disagreement. I don't want you hesitating to speak your mind. I want you knowing that even when tension rises, love remains steady. Because conflict without safety creates fear. But conflict with maturity builds trust. I'm building maturity now. Future wife, I'm also building adaptability. Life will not follow a straight line. Dreams may evolve. Circumstances may shift. Plans may change. I don't want to be rigid. I don't want to cling to control. I want flexibility anchored in conviction, flexible enough to adjust direction, convicted enough to protect values. That balance creates stability. I'm building perspective too. The ability to zoom out, to remember what truly matters, to prioritize connection over ego, to prioritize peace over proving a point. Because arguments fade, but tone lingers, words echo, and I don't want careless moments creating lasting wounds. So I'm training awareness of how I respond, awareness of when I need to pause, awareness of when I need to soften, awareness of when I need to speak gently instead of react sharply. Small adjustments now protect large moments later. Future wife, I'm building patience with growth. Your growth, my growth, our growth. There will be seasons when you need reassurance, seasons when I need encouragement, seasons when one of us feels uncertain. I don't want to rush those seasons. I don't want to label them as weakness. I want to honor them as part of becoming. Because growth is not linear, and safety allows growth without fear. I'm also strengthening loyalty in unseen spaces, in thought, in discipline, in boundaries, because loyalty is not proven when watched. It's proven when unseen. And I want you confident in my integrity, not because I say the right things, but because my actions are consistent. Consistency builds invisible security. Invisible security allows visible vulnerability. I'm building a home in my heart before I build one with walls. A home where gentleness lives, where encouragement is normal, where criticism is careful, where affection is intentional, where mistakes are corrected, not weaponized, where silence feels peaceful, not tense. That kind of home doesn't happen by accident. It happens by preparation. There are still days when I'm refining, days when impatience tries to surface, days when pride whispers, days when stress tempts me to withdraw. But I don't ignore those tendencies. I confront them because I refuse to let small cracks widen into fractures. Future wife, when you finally step into my life, I don't want you stepping into fragility. I want you stepping into strength, not harsh strength, not rigid strength, gentle strength, stable strength, stable strength, stable strength, strength that bends without breaking, strength that protects without suffocating, strength that listens before leading, strength that apologizes without hesitation, strength that stays when things feel complicated. You won't have to analyze my moods. You won't have to guess my loyalty. You won't have to brace for my reactions. You'll feel grounded. You'll feel supported. You'll feel prioritized. You'll feel secure. Because I'm building something that won't collapse when life gets heavy. Not perfection. Resilience. Not intensity. Consistency. Not control. Stability. I'm building habits that sustain love when feelings fluctuate. I'm building discipline that protects peace when pressure rises. I'm building humility that guards connection when ego tempts. I'm building patience that steadies growth when seasons stretch. And when you finally walk into this life I've been constructing, I want you to feel something immediate, not fear, not tension, not uncertainty. Relief. Relief that you don't have to fight for stability. Relief that you don't have to defend your heart. Relief that you don't have to carry everything alone. Because I've been preparing to carry it with you. That's the life I'm building. For you. Long before we ever meet, and I refuse to let it be fragile, I'm building something you won't have to survive. You'll be able to rest in it. Dear future wife, if this is the last thing I ever say about the life I'm building, I want it to be this. I'm not building something flashy. I'm not building something loud. I'm not building something that looks impressive from a distance, but feels unstable up close. I'm building something you won't have to survive. You'll be able to rest in it. There's a difference between a life someone admires and a life someone feels safe joining. Admiration is external. Safety is internal. Admiration can fade when circumstances shift. Safety deepens when circumstances change. And I want depth. I don't want you walking into performance. I want you walking into peace, because peace isn't accidental. It's cultivated through thousands of small decisions. Decisions no one applauds. Decisions no one sees. Decisions that shape character quietly. Future wife, I've come to understand something sobering. Marriage does not create stability. It reveals it. If my life is disorganized now, it will feel chaotic later. If my emotions are unmanaged now, they will feel overwhelming later. If my habits are careless now, they will feel heavy later. So I'm not waiting for you to fix my foundation. I'm strengthening it before you arrive. I'm building emotional safety, the kind where you can express frustration without fear, the kind where you can cry without being dismissed, the kind where you can ask hard questions without triggering defensiveness, the kind where vulnerability is protected, not weaponized. I don't want your heart learning to brace around me. I want it learning to soften. I'm building reliability. If I say I'll show up, I show up. If I commit, I complete. If I promise, I protect it. Because broken words slowly break trust, and broken trust erodes safety. I want my consistency to reassure you long before my words do. There were seasons when I confused intensity with strength, loud opinions, strong reactions, quick responses. But I've learned something deeper. Strength isn't loud. It's controlled. It's steady. It's calm under pressure. It's gentle when frustration rises. It's firm without being harsh. That's the kind of strength I'm building. Not to dominate. To protect. Future wife, I'm building a home in my character before I build one with walls. A home where communication is clear, where correction is kind, where accountability is mutual, where growth is celebrated, where mistakes are handled with grace. I don't want you walking on eggshells. I want you walking freely, freely expressing ideas, freely sharing dreams, freely voicing concerns, freely being yourself, because safety creates freedom, and freedom deepens love. I'm building resilience too, because life will stretch us. There will be days when we're tired, days when stress is heavy, days when miscommunication happens, days when emotions feel complicated. I don't want those days to threaten stability. I want them to refine it. So I'm training myself to stay grounded, to regulate before reacting, to apologize without delay, to listen without interruption, to forgive without scoreboard. Because small ego battles turn into large emotional distances, and I refuse to let ego live in our home. Future wife, I'm building loyalty in unseen places, not just loyalty in visible action, loyalty in thought, in discipline, in boundaries, in integrity when no one is watching, because safety depends on trust. And trust is built privately long before it's tested publicly. I don't want you wondering if my character shifts in different environments. I want consistency everywhere. I'm building humility, the kind that says, I was wrong. The kind that says, help me understand. The kind that says, I need you. Because pride isolates. Humility connects. And connection is what makes love feel alive. There's another layer I've been strengthening, attentiveness. I don't want to overlook the small things that matter to you. I don't want to forget what brings you comfort. I don't want to dismiss what causes you stress. I want awareness. Awareness of your emotional patterns, awareness of your dreams, awareness of your fears. Because safety grows when someone feels deeply seen. Seen consistently, seen respectfully, seen without judgment. Future wife, I'm building peace into my routines, guarding my time, organizing my responsibilities, managing stress before it spills over. Because if my external life is chaotic, it will invade our internal life. And I want order, not rigid order, supportive order, structure that protects rest, structure that protects intimacy, structure that protects connection. I don't want to offer you unpredictability. I want to offer you rhythm. Rhythm creates security. Security creates openness. Openness creates depth. Depth sustains forever. I'm building emotional endurance, the ability to stay engaged when conversations get uncomfortable, the ability to hold tension without escalating it, the ability to process frustration without projecting it, the ability to remain present instead of withdrawing. Because safety isn't tested in comfort, it's tested in discomfort, and I want to pass that test. There will be days when we disagree, days when we misinterpret tone, days when stress amplifies small things. But if I remain steady, you'll remain secure. And security allows repair. Repair strengthens love. Future wife, I'm building something that won't collapse when circumstances shift, not because I'm flawless, but because I'm intentional. Intentional in my growth. Intentional in my growth. Intentional in my discipline. Intentional in my self-awareness. Intentional in my humility. Intentional in my preparation. You won't meet a man hoping to figure it out later. You'll meet a man who prepared for partnership long before he met you. You won't meet chaos disguised as ambition. You'll meet clarity shaped by conviction. You won't meet reactive emotion. You'll meet regulated strength. You won't meet conditional affection. You'll meet conditional affection. You'll meet consistent care. I'm building something you won't have to fix. Something you won't have to survive. Something you won't have to defend yourself against. You'll be able to breathe, to relax, to rest, to grow, to trust, to love fully. And when you finally step into this life I've been building, I want you to feel something unmistakable. Not tension, not uncertainty, not caution. Peace. The kind of peace that says, you're safe here. The kind of peace that allows vulnerability without fear. The kind of peace that makes forever feel steady. That's what I'm constructing, brick by brick, habit by habit, decision by decision, long before I know your name. Because when you arrive, I don't want you adjusting to instability. I want you stepping into security. And that security will not be accidental. It will be built intentionally, built patiently, built with you in mind. That is the life I'm preparing for you, for us, for forever.
Future wife, when you walk into my life one day, I don't want you stepping into uncertainty. I want you stepping into clarity. Clarity in commitment, clarity in values, clarity in priorities, clarity in directions. You won't meet chaos disguised as charisma. You'll meet calm grounded in character. You won't meet ambition without balance. You'll meet vision anchored in responsibility. You won't meet dominance. You'll meet leadership shaped by humility. I'm building a life someone will feel safe walking into. Not flashy, not dramatic. Safe, safe to express yourself, safe to disagree respectfully, safe to grow, safe to rest, and safe to be vulnerable, safe to dream, safe to build. And when you finally step into my world, I want you feeling something steady. Not pressure, not unpredictability, not instability, steadiness.